back to my channel. Today's layout is another A4 layout, and it's for another challenge over at the Peartree cut file cybercrop that went on last weekend. And this is a shape challenge, and it's to use a cut file with either a heart or use 6 hearts on a layout. And there was a couple of other pointers, but I decided to go for 6 hearts. But anyway, as you can see from the paper that I'm using, I use a lot more than 6 hearts. So I'm using the Nuts About You cut file from Peartree cut files, and what I did was I trimmed off the nuts and the leaves because it was more like an autumn sort of theme, but I just wanted the title of the cut file. So what I've done is I've cut a border of this love heart paper, and this paper is from Simple Stories, and it's the Sweet Talk, I think it is. And then what I've done is I've trimmed down my white A4 cardstock. I've cut about an inch off the top and an inch off the sides, so it just gives like a half inch border all the way around. And I've stuck that down, and I've distressed all the edges round the cardstock. And then going to use that section of the love heart paper that's come out of the middle, and I'm going to use that as my background on my layout. So what I'm doing here is I'm just backing the cut file with some vellum. I didn't want to put any pattern paper behind it, with there being so much pattern on the paper that I'm using. It's quite a busy paper, so I wanted to keep the cut file quite natural, if you like. So yeah, I'm just backing that in vellum, and this did tear after I'd cut it, but once it's stuck down onto the layout, you can't tell that. So yeah, it still works absolutely perfectly on this. So yeah, just backing that now, and then just trimming all the excess off. I'm just using my craft knife just to get into them spaces in between the letters. I'm using I'm using the Simple Stories Sweet Talk collection. I'm also going to use some Bramble Fox bits as well out of my Fox box, my first Fox box from Bramble Fox. So I wanted to use some of these, with it being like a Valentine's layout. Now the photos that I'm using are of my partner and my little boy, and we went for a walk. He wanted to be carried, so I took these 2 photos of them, and I'm really happy with how the photo. You know what it's like when you've got children, or just a scrapbook, you have to take multiple photos just to make sure you get a decent one out of maybe 20 odd. My partner says I'm terrible. He knows what I'm like, so he's quite good like that. So I'm just backing these. I've backed the photos on some white cardstock, and then I've just used a cut apart from the Simple Stories collection in pale blue, and I've just chopped that in half, and I've just popped that behind the photo as well, just layered that behind the photo. And a couple of the I've cut a tab in half as well, and I've just popped half of that on at the top of one of the photos, and then down the right hand side of the opposite photo. I'm just going to stick that middle part of the paper that I used for the border down the to the left hand side. I didn't want it central, I wanted it more to the left hand side of the layout. I had this layout envisioned in my head before I'd even started sticking it down. So then I used I'm also using a piece of the striped black and cream striped paper to go across the middle of the layout, but more moved up to the top rather than actually central. So that there, what I showed you, was also another cut file from Peartree cut files, and it's the Build a Christmas Bow cut file, and it comes with like Christmas bits that you can add onto it. I just used it for the normal bow, and what I did was I've cut it out onto a piece of card, and I'm just going to use that as a template for when I want to make bows for future layouts. So I've made that bow there to the left hand side in the coordinating paper to go on this layout, and then I can reuse the template. So there you can see the bramble fox bits there, the little envelope with the love hearts coming out of it, and then to the right on my cutting mat you could also see the little paper aeroplanes. I've just backed them in some white card, and that was a tip off Nikki Rowland, just so you don't see the pattern paper through the perspectives because they're open backed. So just backed them in white card. I've also just shown you, I've just done a stitch border around the white piece of card and round the inner piece of the pattern paper as well, just to add some extra interest to the layout. And now it's time to build it up and just get everything positioned in place. So I'm just going to add some cluster of thread behind this little post box. That's from the ephemera pack, and I just popped that up onto some foam pads as well, and just finding out where I want everything to go now really. So this little jar of hearts to the right hand side, and popping that up onto some foam pads as well. And then I also come in with this little phrase as well, that's from the ephemera pack, I love you this much, with an arrow, and that's just going to go on to the bottom right of the photograph. And I'm just going to pop, I have raised one of the photos, I think it's the right hand side, yeah, the right hand side photo was raised up onto some foam pads, so I've just had to put some of the foam pads on half of that little label, just so it's level. And I'm just going to pop these two little paper aeroplanes, one to the left and one to the right. I couldn't decide where to stick my bow. I didn't know whether to put it near the photos or down the bottom, so it ended up going down the bottom, so it had a little bit of interest down that bottom as well. I'm just going to get this cut file stuck down now. I would like to have put it on foam pads, but because I backed it in vellum, you would have seen the foam pads through the vellum, so I've had to just use some wet glue to stick that down, but I'm still happy with that. Just going to come in with these little perspective hearts. These are also from Bramble Fox as well. These were one of my add-ons. These weren't in the Fox box. These were just little add-ons that I added to the delivery of my Fox box. And then just using some of these pink paisley little puffy heart stickers. Just putting them in little clusters around the page. Very hearty, lovey-dovey this layout. I wanted to use the cherries as well from the Fox box, but wasn't quite sure where I was going to put them, so I left them off in the end. And pop the place and the date down the bottom. I did write that in grey pen, and then decided I didn't want it in grey, I wanted it in black. So I ended up going over that in the end. So now I'm just going to go over this cut file with this the Nouveau Glimmer Paste. I was just going to do the border of the cut file, and then decided, actually no, I'm going to do the whole of the cut file. So I ended up doing the whole of the cut file over the vellum and the border in this Nouveau Glimmer Paste, and you'll be able to see that a little bit better on the close-ups, and it does it does look quite good. I am quite happy with the way that turned out. I'm still experimenting with this stuff. Next, I would like to try and use it through a stencil at some point, because it's supposed to be good for that. So I'm just going to write my journal into the right hand side of the cut file, just on that under that phrase sticker. And as you see, I just swapped pens and decided to go for black instead. So that's my layout just about done now, and I think I've also added some enamel dots as well at the end. So thank you very much for watching, and hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.